Hello, RC people. We are back at it again live with the PreJump podcast. It's going to be your boy, Boss Radala, Rob, and the man, the myth, the legend rolling in as we start going live. HUD, how are you guys doing?
He made it.
I'm
fantastic now that he's here,
I'm
man.
up like that, but hey, I'm happy to be here. Let me turn my camera on.
Dude, you're like that student who walks in as the bell rings and sits
So
down.
much worse, though.
Oh, God.
We made it happen. We made it work.
Oh, we'll get him live. We'll get him here before we get too deep into the action.
Let's go.
Fellas, as we're getting Mr. HUD set up, how is y'all's night going?
It's all right. I had a nice long day at work and took a nap. Didn't do any of the stuff that I was supposed to try to get done today. And now I'm here, and then I'm in a rush to get my homework done after. So, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll definitely do it. HUD, do you see the link in the password that you're joining? Yes, you did. Okay, great. Oh, God. So scuffed.
We made it. Scuffed or not. Hud's here. Let's go.
Let's see here. Properties.
Kinda. You guys can't see him, but I can see him, and this man is looking phenomenal tonight. Oh. And I think he's muted.
Oh, I've been muted this whole time. That's
Let's
wonderful.
Go.
Not
Good
the button on my
job.
mixer. Not the button on my mixer being off. No, I had Easter stuff going on today. Just got home after driving through the, if it wasn't for the people that decide to go 45 and 60s through the woods, I'd probably have been here a little bit earlier, but, do what you can.
I see how it is.
I got here as fast as I could, man.
Oh, well, fellas, we've got kind of a full schedule of things to talk about today. Obviously, with this being week 10, this is going to be the last one of the season, or at least the last podcast before we get into the awards show later on. That'll be next week, though. That'll be a great undertaking, as I'm getting ready to have all of the information that nobody's allowed to know for a whole week. But, fellas, without further ado, let's get into kind of a quick one here. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming admin election that's going on. Just got posted. For those of you who are staff, you'll be able to vote, I believe, as of tomorrow. So that'll be pretty interesting. But there's only 5 candidates and there's 3 open spaces. So it's gonna be one heck of a shot in the dark. You're gonna have either Trippin or to Blister rerunning and potentially resecuring their admin seats for another 2 seasons, or you're going to have Bex, myself, or Bladed Raptor taking that 3rd seat that used to belong to Tinsel.
Knockdown, drag out fight for that 3rd admin spot, it sounds like.
Was Bex or who?
Bex or Bladed Raptor?
Bladed Raptor or Boss Radala.
It's a pretty hot ticket.
Hospital.
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness. So it's either Bex or Bloody Raptor is what I'm hearing.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
Get it.
Bob already cast his vote.
Don't worry, you guys. I am, as many of you know, I am not staff, so I cannot vote. So don't worry, everyone. I will never.
God, I'm not gonna lie though. Even with having 3 available slots and 5 potential candidates, I still feel like I have the lowest possible shot I've ever seen for an admin. Considering I'm going up against Blister and Trippin, who have both. But I think Blister's been an admin for 2 years now.
As an RSC old head boss, I will tell you with confidence that you are not the biggest dark horse in an admin race. Just off the rip, I can tell you that's not the case at all. In this one, maybe you might be the biggest one in this, just from the, like you said, 3 of the people that are running are established pretty well and have pretty big contributions. Yeah, Please adjust me into my little box better, since I'm so off center.
I was trying to move you over, and then I completely just deleted you from the stream for a second.
My own fault, because I extended my my boom out, so I moved it to the left like 6 inches. But yeah, no, you're definitely not the the darkest horse coming into an admin election. As also somebody who has run and lost multiple times, it's kind of it's the name of the game, but it's I think that you've got a more of a shout than I ever did because you actually have like ideas and shit and how to follow through on them. I was just kind of there.
Yeah, but I'm going up against some really stiff competition. Like, when you're looking at those 3 spots, in my personal opinion, I would fully expect Blister and Trippin to win their re-election campaigns. And that's going to leave 1 spot available, which realistically, I'm going up against Bex, who has experience in Rules Committee. Bex, who has experience with a few other committees, actually.
Is Bex the host of the PreJump podcast? I didn't think so.
That's fair.
Is Bex, did he get double promoted from Rival to Elite and then
never play
because he couldn't get on a roster? I don't think so.
Let's go!
Let's go. Come on. Yeah, no, boss. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a shot in the dark, but I respect you running, and you have my imaginary vote.
Tech, I'm gonna write a not boss
right?
down. That's wild. I see how it is, Tech. But no, like without further ado, though, that was a pretty quick one. I didn't want to like harp on it too long. Just want everybody to know who's getting voted on, and let me just go over a little bit of the details real quick because that should be going on. Where's it at? Monty had this nice post about it. Voting will open as of noon tomorrow or noon Monday, and then will go on for 48 hours, after which votes will be tallied and our Season 20 admins will be elected. So, realistically, you should see an announcement Wednesday, or at the latest, potentially Thursday, letting everybody know who the new admins are going to be. But, fellas, I think it's time to get in some actual RSC action here. We're getting into the meat and potatoes of our stream. Let's talk about our championship recap, because we've got 4 new champions crowned.
They're not all new, boss. Just so you know. But
okay.
That is true. That is true.
Actually, 2 out of 4 are repeats this week.
50% is a pretty high number for repeats.
It is.
I think somebody should take a look into those franchises that keep winning, dude.
That's
Looking
what
at
I'm saying.
Trust me, RSC loves to get rid of those. Anyway, moving forward. We don't have to talk about that. Yeah, 4 champions. Woo, Master. And HUD, you're playing. Oh, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
No, we'll get there later.
My bad. I just get excited about the pre-jump superiority. Anyway, take us away, boss.
We'll start us off here with the Backrug versus Munster Misfits prospect finals.
Which is the Backrug?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should have been prospect, right? Prospect and Master, and then Chally and Elite.
Yep,
Just to make sure I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah.
So Backrug clearing or locking up that second, I believe, of the Tech Forest chips this offseason. Going 4-1 over the Munster Misfits. And fellas, I'm not going to lie, as a guy who watched the vast majority of it, it felt like, all in all, like Backrug really just ran away with it. Like, I understand that, yes, technically, for sure, Munster Misfits played solid. They look like that David versus Goliath opportunity, but I don't know, man. I'm just saying, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I definitely think that it kind of started to slip away from Munster Misfits. Obviously, the scoreline belies that much, but 1 seed versus a 7 seed in the final is definitely Munster Misfits were the big underdogs coming into this, and we know that Backrug is good. We've known it for the last I feel like 3 seasons, like almost a full calendar year.
However many seasons that Tech has been a GM, the prospect team is just gonna. They're the contender team that sets all the records after they set the records. They're all good. Yeah.
No, it definitely. It's you can tell that it's a well-managed team, a well-managed franchise. The wins aren't flukes. Like, they don't just happen on accident. So, I am trying to remember. I don't think I saw this series very much because I think I was still playing in my own series. But tuning in through it, just kind of checking in. Yeah, it's full credit to Tech for it. It doesn't happen on accident. It doesn't just like you don't all of a sudden have teams that win every season. It takes work. So, and props to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Huge
like,
ups.
Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
No, that was basically it. It's just huge ups to them. I mean, it's really impressive. It's really difficult, and Tech does it season after season.
Well, and it was such a unique experience, right? Because like on last week's podcast, we really broke down how this was kind of a David versus Goliath situation with Munster Misfits having beaten the 2 and the 3 seed, which when you look at their general standings, I believe both of them were 45 and 15. I could be wrong here. Let me just double check. 43 and 17. They beat 2 teams that were 43 and 17 while going into the finals against a team that was 45 and 15. And it looked like they were going to have a chance to completely throw everyone for a loop, beat all of the top tier teams on a mystical journey. But then they ran into a team that, when you look at their team stats, they were only at 189 saves on the season. They almost never, even on that stream match we followed, they almost never had to play defense. It felt like perpetual offense from the Bachrook side, and it was just disgusting to watch.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but looking at the numbers, they outshot them almost just straight up 2 for 1 at 8.6 versus 4.4 shots per game. Shooting percentage is about the same, 32, 27%. It's close enough to win. But when you're just getting outshot by that much, the games were 3-1, 2-1, and 3-1 to start, right? And Bacharach took all 3 of those. If you have an extra 4 shots per game, or rather, let me say it like this. From the Munster Misfit side, if you are getting outshot by 4 shots per game, it is very, very difficult to win those 1-goal games. And it seems like they did a good job of... They let those 9 shots per game turn into 3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals, and 0 goals for the first 4. So that's incredible defense from them. Like, huge shouts. But it's really difficult to, when you are conceding that much pressure, really win those games. You can stay alive, but at some point you've got to turn it around.
Yeah.
And they did in Game 4. They tried to. And I didn't personally watch the series, but just looking at the numbers, it's a very telling story about 2 teams that seem honestly fairly even, but Bacharach just looking a little bit more polished, a little bit more like they've been there. Numbers saying a little bit less panic, right? And ultimately putting up more shots by that margin is enough to normally win you a series.
Yeah, you gotta find a way to score more than your opponent, right? It's the cliche Rocket League ism of just score more, win game, but you can even break it down further into like when you concede that many shots and you can't find any shots of your own. It only makes sense that you're not going to win those. Like you have to find ways to turn it up, and Prospect is one of those where you get teams that really figure out how to play with each other and how to communicate effectively, and you see those teams take up the entire field. They just they find ways to be able to keep pressure up and then just stifle their opponents and run it to easy victories. And we saw just that from Bacharach. So it's not an easy thing to do, and to come out and almost get the sweep in finals is also huge. So maybe next season somebody else will win Prospect. Fingers crossed.
Frankly, they have some crazy rotations. I mean, like, in terms of contributing from all spots, this Bacharach team averaged within 20 points per game of each other for all 5 games. 361, 360, and 342 per game. Not only that, their shots, 15, 14, and 14 apiece. Their goals, 4, 4, and 6. The saves, 5, 5, and 3. Assists, 6, 5, and 2. Like, everyone was contributing in every facet. And at the lower tiers, a lot of the times, you see it'll be one player who's a little bit tier breaking in some way versus a full team that's operating at a high level. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what it was this time, but regardless, it was another win for the full teams that operate at a high level.
Yep.
And, I mean, shout outs to him, man. As Tech4 loves to say, he said in chat, haha, make doubles. Whoa. And they also make Prospect wins. So, congrats to them.
Championships.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I think it's time to talk about the next on the docket. Your good old next champions here. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. Master winners, who should have been coming in on that Monday slot. Good old Eggplants taking the repeat over the Crashed Impactors, going 4-2. And before we get into it, I'm going to hand the mic over. I desperately, for some reason, need water. I can't stop coughing, so I'm going to throw my little player card up, and I'll be right back.
And Rob can talk about this fantastic finals.
For those of you who don't know, this is a little back-to-back for Rob. But last season I was a bench player, so cool that I got to actually contribute. First things first, crazy team out of Crashed Impactors. They went up 2-0 on us and played a ridiculous series, just applying a ton of pressure for the entire thing. So really well played, really shout to them. Honestly, one of the most even series that I've been a part of. Shots were 7 to 7.1. It was for the entire series. It was just nuts. So really big shout out to them. And what you don't see, if you didn't watch that finals, it was me, Fluffy, and Zippy playing all 6 games. Likewise, I said this in our franchise chat after. He is our 4th. He was the Elite MVP and I believe Finals MVP. He won Finals and Elite last season too. And even though he wasn't on the field, he told us exactly what we needed to hear after we're down 0-2. And he wasn't one of those toxic 4th men who down 0-2, if you don't put me in, I'm out of here, right? Like, people can be like that. And, like, especially in the finals with emotions running high, you work all season to get here. And so I wanted to give a massive shout out on the pod to Likewise, because he said what we needed to hear and steered us in the correct direction so we could make the adjustments that we needed to. And there's a 0% chance that we win that series without those words. So big shouts to him.
I'm going to be honest, Likewise has already proven himself on the pitch as a player. We've seen his incredible performances last season in the Elite Championship, and then the same thing in twos. So, it was nice to see him play well, but it's also incredibly well to see that he's a well-rounded teammate, and he's really just filling in as that vibes guy, which I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of people in the league that could probably maybe take a step back and go, hey, maybe I'm not that guy, maybe I'm not number 1 in the league for scoring, but hey, I'm going to help my team win by being the vibes guy, and quite frankly, you need more players like Likewise.
Yeah, and the cool part is everyone on our team knew for the entire season that if we needed to supplement at any point, we could. He actually he subbed. I was in Europe for a couple weeks. He subbed for a couple of those games, went 4-0, right? We needed that to make playoffs. We made it in as, I think, either the 7 or the 8 seed. And that 4-0 when I was gone was massive. Not only for our confidence, but actually just getting us there. And so it's taking it a step further. It's not that Likewise wasn't good enough. He is good, definitely good enough to be a starter on a championship team in Master, as hopefully you'll see next season, 3P maybe. But that's what makes it all the more impressive when he was able to take that step back and support us in that moment, is because he would have had every right in the freaking world to say, put me in, coach, make the sub. And I was about to, frankly, I was about to sub myself out for him. And he was like, okay, guys, just chill out. Do these things. Operate on this level. Operate on your game. Stop reacting. So on and so forth. And he gave me the vote of confidence that I needed to turn my play around. I know for sure.
Yeah, there's something to be said about those 4th men that don't check out when they're not playing, right? As the 4th player in a team in a league where we just play 3-man teams, unless you are that star scorer for your team, chances are you're going to spend some time on the pine. You're just not going to play every game. Being that 4th that can sit there, watch what's happening, analyze what's happening, and then bring it back to your team and say, hey, here's what I saw. And sometimes that can be even more beneficial in spots like you said, Rob, where you just got to turn the mental around, and having somebody that's already seen all of it and has been sitting there just kind of taking it all in to just lay it all out for you. it can be the difference between winning and losing a season without even touching the pitch. So I'm super stoked to learn that. I was bummed for Bex because he's my GM. But it absolutely was a great series. I got to catch the end of it and all the way down to the wire, back and forth, even at 6 games. So for sure, great Master Finals.
Well,
yeah.
Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about from Master?
I just wanted to, one final thing was I wanted to shout out particularly, so the whole Crash Impactors team with Mixed Bex and Polar Bear played amazing, but particularly Polar Bear. When you lose, it's like you can't really win Finals MVP unless you're Jerry West, but like this dude was so locked in this whole series. He played so unbelievably well, and I mean, he led the series in shots, he led the series in goals. He was tied for second in saves. He was tied for third in assists. He was up there. He was not up there in demos. But point is, it felt like Polar had an unbelievable impact on the game. And losing 4-2, you might, and he's not the most well-known player on that team. You might not see that. So I also, same way that likewise is fourth, I wanted to give that shout out. Polar on the losing side played an unbelievable series, and if you watched, you know all those air dribbles were just ridiculous. Also, my grandma was watching and said he was cracked. So, shout out Polar, my grandma thinks you're cracked.
Shout out Rob's grandma. But if you guys are ready, I'm ready to talk about another stellar series that I saw on Wednesday. That Toucans versus Slow Starfish series, which ended with the Toucans coming away with the dub. But for anybody who watched it, it got really interesting there. Toucans went up 2-0, and then they started trading games back and forth until they hit Game 6, and then they closed out the series. And everybody was all hype about Mogul Maniac. Mogul was playing fantastic all series, don't get me wrong. But my man, there were not enough people high up on Chicken 935. He was clipping that series.
I wish I caught it. I was Mogul's either GM or AGM like 4 or 5 seasons ago, I think, at this point. And he was always an incredible Chally player. So it's really cool to follow his career, you know? He won. That's awesome. So huge shout out to Mogul and the Toucans. But yeah, looking at the points total, it seems that Chicken 935 kind of led the way, and particularly in the shots category, having 6 more than anyone else in finals and 9 more than anyone else on his team. Shot 4 for 20. What? 420. Anyway, great performance from Chicken. Absolutely. Also putting up 4 assists, being tied for the finals lead in goals and sole possession for the lead in assists.
Oh,
battle pressure is a lot.
But Logic's pointed out, Toucans are also a repeat. So we had 3 repeat finals winners this season.
Man.
Hi, Logi.
Hi, Logi.
Gosh.
Logi's carrying me to a finals on Monday. I just want everybody to know. We'll talk to that more. Let's keep talking about Challenger before we move on to Rival. But...
Oh, I figured we'd skip over Rival entirely tonight and just talk about Vet.
I'm with it, to be honest. I mean, maybe, you know what, HUD? Tell you what, we'll save the last 8 seconds before we leave. For, as much time as you will save for us, man. We're going. I'm kidding.
8 seconds is plenty.
Yeah, that's what I say all the time, man. You know what I mean? That's all I need.
That's all it takes.
Take us away.
Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about from this Toucan series? I mean, obviously we saw them beat Void, the 1 series, the 1 seed out of the Solar side. They beat Shinigami, they beat Abyss, and they were kind of favored to win this. I'm not gonna lie. I remember a lot of the votes on it were very pro Toucans, but is there anything you guys actually wanted to talk about for this, or do you guys just want to roll right into Elite?
I got one more thing. If you look at this, what I find incredibly fascinating, only 1 team for 1 game scored over 2 goals.
Yeah, it was a close one.
So whether that is due to impeccable defense or whether that is due to a lack of composure during finals, like especially for some of these lower tiers playing on stream, not that Chally's particularly low, but playing on finals stream, right? Like you're playing in front of 100-something people a lot of the time, and you haven't done that before if you haven't been there. And for these challenger players, that may have led to 4 straight losses being taken by a team that scored 0 goals, right? And all due respect to all challenger players, their strength is usually not like backboard defense and like
No, not particularly.
Gosh
and
darn it, Bladen.
I would say that a lot of these finals, whenever we see the more composed team, that's the one that takes it. And I think particularly, even though I didn't watch the series, 2-1, 2-0, 0-2, 1-0, 2-1. Like, these games are so unbelievably close, and all it takes is one mistake or having a little bit composure, just waiting in that midfield for that ball to come to you, as opposed to zooming through it, making sure you get back. And I think, I don't know, I find that really, really interesting. I don't think we've seen that in these other series where it's just only one team for one game scoring about 2 goals is crazy for 6 games.
We've definitely had some tight ones, but none that have been that low scoring. I think to your point about composure, Rob, the Slow Starfish as a team shot 16% on the series, just over 16%. And to me, that's the biggest metric of a little bit just gripping the controller a little bit too hard, not hitting your marks when you're going in to try to finish things up. And I've seen it happen time and time again, even in just like regular RSC matches to myself, to other people. You don't have that ice, you just can't finish it. That's 16% shooting looks like no ice to me. So
I mean, 2 games we're only at 23, so it's not necessarily
not a ton higher, but it's tough to score that much when you're just not putting them on frame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, fellas, I think it's time to talk about the greatest storyline of the offseason. Sorry, Rob.
Oh my God, man.
Let's talk about your quad-peating team, the Azathoth, in the Elite Tier. The second team in RSC's history to do so. First was going to be Tree Frog's Master Tier team.
It's already been done in Master? It's pointless. It doesn't even matter. Dude. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, it's
you didn't know that?
Higher tier. It'll be so cool. No, I didn't know that. Whatever. Cool repeat, bro.
Yeah, because I was like, ooh, yeah, they're going to potentially quad-peat. It'll be the first time ever. And then, like, I had 3 people reach out to me. Nah, Tech 4 already did it. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh,
okay,
great. I'm so glad.
First
team league. That's a good asterisk, Bo. I appreciate that.
That's a
first
great asterisk.
Tier.
But no, for anybody who really tuned in, they had to win it as a best of 7. They could not win it any harder. Quite frankly, it was a slugfest all the way through. We saw people going back and forth, taking shot after shot on each team, really just trying to establish it. And dude, the momentum was wild. I remember tuning into that, and I voted all of my bits on Azathoth and lost them all, I believe, on Game 6. It's got to be here somewhere. But it was wild. I mean, I'm tuning in. I was like, dude, I'm so excited. This is great. And then I'm bitless.
If I'm remembering pulling into a lot of these late because I couldn't catch a lot of them because I was playing in my own matches this past week, which is such a weird thing for me to have to say. But I remember catching the end of this one and just the chaos towards the end of like the fact that it even got to 7 games was pretty palpable, even coming in a little bit late. It is it's always nice to see these things go the distance because we get all the way to the finals. We want to see these teams show out like as much as possible. And there was definitely there was some chatter that Azathoth was just kind of taking their foot off the gas and letting it go all the way to 7 and maybe living to regret it, but they didn't have any problems closing it out in the last frame. So yeah,
dude,
4 peats.
You're right, because like Game 5 they lost 3-0. Game 6 they lost 1-0. They scored nothing in Games 5 and 6, and I was like, oh, all the momentum's in favor of Desolation. They're gonna make a comeback here. They're gonna get the win, and then legitimately Game 7, I was thrown for a loop. I was like, holy cow, Azathoth are finally deciding to kick it back into gear, finally starting to play Azathoth style gameplay. And it came down to, who was it? Flexi, I believe, was the last goal scored in that series. I could be wrong.
I think so. I was also watching that series. Wicked was last goal according to Tech. Yeah, because Wicked
Wicked.
subbed
Okay.
out Game 6 and went back in Game 7.
That's right.
That was such a crazy series. I'm not gonna lie. I was in a call with a few people. I was streaming it, and it was just like, it was just a nut. It was just nuts. It was so even. Um, but it was so back and forth in the same way, and all the storylines of Azathoth looking for the four-peat after Viper and that whole Smurf situation, and then they find their own rhythm with their own roster that's actually in the tier they're supposed to be. Then they get here, they go up, and then they lose Game 5 and Game 6, as you said, Boss, without scoring a single goal. And they made a sub, and you were so worried, and then they subbed him back, and it was just, are they going to be able to do it? But I think the difference for me, what I saw, I said this while I was watching, was it looked like, at times, for individual games, that Azathoth had the three most creative or mechanical players on the field. When they were on, all of them were on, it was just not something that Desolation could find a way to stop. And you see that in the 6-1 win. You see that in the 3-1 win. I mean, the rest are really close, so they didn't take them that many by that large of a margin. But they looked good, man. They operated as a team. They were fast, efficient, proficient. It was so real ups to them.
I think if I remember right, I think I saw the largest bet in what I want to say is RC, like recent history, because I saw Chips ended up winning roughly like 165,000 channel points.
What
and
the
for
hell?
me, yeah, I was like 165k points. I was like, holy heckaroonie, that's just
Boss.
Oh no, we lost boss.
no. I'm
Lost
kidding. You just
Boss.
got Jabaited on my soundboard. Get wrecked.
You also went. You mute. You mute. It's not.
No,
getting baited.
I pretended to stop talking.
He just started moving his mouth.
Yes, sir. Oh god, no, but the 165k points was nuts. I mean, absolutely insane.
Yeah, I slid in towards the end of the series to start the poll. I think I was there for Game 6, and I ran the betting for Game 7. It was the only match that had any betting on it all night. So lots of people had all those RSC points burning a hole in their pocket, and Chips came out with like all of them. So
I love looking down and seeing I have 462 RSC coins. It doesn't kill my soul or anything.
I have 52k right now.
Oh, what's it like? What's
I've
it like to
never
still
been
have
able to-
points?
I've never been able to spend any of them because I run all the fucking polls. Excuse me, I just
Whoa!
Whoa,
My
whoa,
God!
whoa.
Are you trying to be the second person in media to catch a strike for being on stream?
behavior will reset after the
Report him.
the finals ends. So,
Report him.
yes, please, I deserve it. So
Dude, we should have had you on the Among Us game, man, with language
Yeah, we
like that.
should.
Come on now.
Everybody say bye to Jade. She's been here for the last 3 minutes. I'm getting rid of her now because she's.
I thought you were about to say that. Never mind. Bye, Jade.
Bye, Jade.
Goodbye, Jane.
I thought you were about to say goodbye to Jade in like a larger capacity,
No,
and we're
I
like
was
announcing
just-
it to the stream,
That's-
and I was like, man, this is a trauma dump for the
No,
ages
no,
on the PreJump podcast.
just putting her on the ground. She's fine.
Everybody say goodbye to Jade. I've known her my entire life. She's been my
Have to
rock.
Put her down tomorrow. No.
Yeah.
Not the case. Man, I was so locked in on that Master Finals that I forgot to not swear on stream, and now I think we should just talk about something else.
Good thing you turned
God.
your attention back to it.
No.
Anyway,
Since we're not
Elite,
talking about
crazy series. Wow, Azathoth, 4P. What? No swearing. Woo!
Let's just go ahead and skip over that rival vet finals as a punishment for HUD here. We'll
Oh,
go right
yeah.
to serious suggestions.
Let's skip
Yeah.
over that finals.
We'll come back. That'll be the last thing we do. We'll make some predictions. That'll be the last thing we do on the stream, and then we'll roll out of here pretty quick. We had two serious suggestions that really kind of caught my eyes. This last week, the first one is going to be. I'm not gonna lie, it started off kind of sideways. There wasn't a lot of productive conversation after the first 20 posts. So maybe we'll just ignore the beginning part of that. But eventually it boiled down to making an adjustment to the MVP ballot. And instead of having it be where the team's win percentage needs to be above 500 for you to qualify for the ballot, it needs to be that your individual win percentage needs to be above 500, which I thought was an interesting theory because it allows the player to really, if they're having a tremendous season like a Russell Westbrook type season there, Rob, where they're just killing it stats wise, but they can't seem to elevate their team, it'd be solid. But I don't know, man. Personally, for me, I like to see when a player elevates their team.
Yeah, I agree. Russ wouldn't have got MVP if his team didn't have above 50% win rate. If Kawhi misses 20 games, but he goes over 500 and the Clippers miss the playoffs because of it, he shouldn't get MVP. If you miss half the season or miss 20 games and your team is 5 games out of playoffs because of it, but you're the best player in the tier, but you missed 20 games, so your team missed playoffs. You're not that valuable. If you were, they would have made playoffs. And so the best ability is always availability. And that is true in every league. That is true especially when you're the best player. And if you're going to be putting up stats where you should be in the MVP conversation, then I feel that you have a responsibility to your team to really maximize the amount of games that you are able to make. And if you can't make enough to where your win percentage pushes your team's win percentage above 50%, 50% is not that high of a threshold, respectfully. That is making playoffs in almost any tier. And you can literally miss playoffs and still be in the MVP ballot.
Oh, yeah.
And
I won MVP in season 16 for Solar.
Okay, everyone go plays boss.
Hey, I haven't gotten to play in like a season and a half. It's all I got.
Well, you went non-playing. Anyway, I think it, frankly, it's a little bit silly. If there's a reason that it's not like that in any sports league in the world, if you're that good, show up and help your team win. And if you don't want to show up and help your team win, then you shouldn't get MVP.
Well, and I think the wildest thing was they were there on the final match day. They played the first 2 matches. They ended up sitting out the back 2. They were 31-31 as a team at that point. And they sat out so their 4th man could play 2 games. And then they got kind of upset because they ended up losing, which dropped their win percentage below 500. And I'm sitting there going in the back of my mind like, dude, place game 63. Take the dub.
Yeah.
Do your best. Get the dub and then sit out and be. I would have told the 4th man on the team had been like, hey, man, I am this close to being an MVP candidate. I'm very sorry. I got to play. I got to ball out. I got to do what I can to at least qualify. So the fact that he sat out, incredible.
Literally last season in Master, I played 9 games. One of those, so you notice that's 2 full match days plus 1 game. Gavalanche was this close to either it was the points lead or the RPV lead or something, right, where he wanted to maximize the opportunity. And so I was going to play all 4 games. But I was like, no, Gav, go create. Like, as the full in that situation, I was like, Gav, you are about to win MVP, or you are about to have the point lead in Master or something. And he played 3 of the 4 games, and in game 3, I remember it very particularly, he dropped like 900 points. And looking at the numbers, I think it was Plasma, I don't know. But unless they averaged like 800 points per game for all 4 games that night, it was just like Gav's thing. And so we established what we needed from each other to make even I was the guy who was looking to play, right? I said I'm going to sit so he can go get that. Like,
it's a team effort.
Yeah, if you're that guy who made that suggestion, or you're his teammate, and you guys are really working together for this, you're on the same page with what you want.
Yeah.
Like, especially as a team, like, you have to establish the goal. And sometimes, look, if you got playoffs locked in, maybe
or you're already out, or you're already you have no playoffs locked in. Basically, you've got games to play that don't mean anything.
Then go try to get the thing that could mean something, right? That all-star ballot appearance, that MVP ballot appearance, and as a team, be on the same page about what you're pushing for. So in moments like that, you can hold each other accountable and push each other into that spot. And so I understand the frustration, but frankly, that's a lack of awareness. And if you are like, oh, wait, MVP works like that? Like, Sorry, man.
Yeah,
If it was that close, you shouldn't be on MVP ballot anyway.
yeah. Run it back,
for
get
sure.
it next season,
Swear.
and that's really all you can do. But yeah, I think getting on a team, the only reason why you didn't get on the MVP ballot being luck of the draw of the team that you got drafted on is a bit of
That's very
just a
silly.
little bit of a it's not the right mindset to have going into a season if you actually think that you're going to get there and get to an MVP, because nobody's ever won MVP alone. I know that MVP is an individual award, but it doesn't just happen to one player being a tier breaker. Like I know that is the, like, you're setting this one player apart, but you've got to be on a team that wins to get there. So unless you can win 1v3 every night, and then if that case, like, you should be playing somewhere else and not in RSC, I think. But you've got to make sure your team's behind you, and then people have got to vote for you after you get on the ballot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
let's not throw people under the bus when we're trying to make an argument,
dude,
because people got to vote you in.
I was thrown for a loop when that player that we're talking about was like, "Oh yeah, like my fourth man stepped in and they cost me the MVP." I'm like, "Dude,
crazy.
it is a win as a team, lose as a team kind of league." And if you go out at any point in time and you throw shade, even if it's not intended, even if that's not your intention, that's not the context you're looking for, but if you throw shade on your teammates and you say, "Hey, they cost me this award," or "Hey, they cost us the playoffs,"
That's crazy.
like, I'm just telling you right now, as someone who was briefly in AGM and as someone who's played in a few different seasons, I sure as heck don't want you on my team. If that's the mentality you
that
have.
attitude. Yeah.
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
Also, for reference, they wouldn't have, like, there's a 0% chance they're even getting MVP. Their RPV wouldn't have
That's Roxy.
qualified. Well, no, or even their tier, right? Because it's Roxy and Avux, or Avux, however you say his name. They both hit, like,
Right.
at least 1750, and, like, they both had 93 plus RPV. Like, the player we're talking about, their RPV wouldn't be high enough to make a vet MVP ballot. Like, they were very, very much on the edge, and so, like, I understand.
It's not denying a good season.
Yeah, take your all-star appearance and count it. Like,
And make it into something else next season.
exactly. You're
Right,
not getting
right.
promoted if you went 31 and 31 anyway with a sub 80 RPV.
Yeah,
Maybe
unless you
are.
grind your rank, but
Yeah.
you know, you're not gonna get an RSC value promo
Yeah.
alone.
And so I don't know. We're kind of talking in circles now, and so the last thing that I'll say about it is just, like, if you weren't even close, man. Like, don't make this big of a thing. Like, respectfully, if you had a 92 RPV and then, like, missed it, and you would have been in, if you averaged a triple double in basketball and missed playoffs, sure, you have your argument. But if you put up regular all-star stats on a team that misses playoffs, you're not going to win MVP anyway, man.
Yeah.
Like, and so I totally respect it. I totally understand. I'm
You want to
driven.
be on that ballot.
Yeah, I won an MVP. Boss won an MVP. HUD will
Have an all-star.
certainly at some point win an MVP because he's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But, like, we all understand where that drive comes from to be on the ballot that says you're the best. We all want to be in that RSC Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
But it's part of the story. It's not something you get to create to throw in there. And just pick your battles, man. This is not one worth fighting.
Not at all. But I think, fellas, I think Rob's right. I think we've kind of talked about this as best as we can. There's really no more additional information we can throw in for it. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the last major subject of the night. We'll talk about this upcoming rival versus veteran finals, which we're going to have an interesting playoff matchup. We've got the Brash Tins. Mr. Good Old HUD X is going to be playing in the finals against the 5th seed Tardy Tortoises. And fellas, first off, the fact that the highest potential winning seed for this finals is the 5 seed is an interesting storyline, to be sure.
That's what Master was. It was 5 and 7.
Yeah, there have been a couple of those. I don't know if it's just Rival and Master, but I know that we had talked about lower seeds making it further in than we had typically seen across the tier. But yeah, the 1 seeds I think both got first rounded in Rival, which is the ongoing first seed curse, and somehow, I can only speak for Brashton's because that's the experience that I have had this season. Somehow, some way, we've managed to play our best Rocket League in the playoffs, which, if you're a team that has kind of been middling all season, that's all you can really hope for, is to get hot and gel at the right time and come together and find a way to put it all in when it matters most. And yeah, it's been crazy. I think our first series took us 5 games to win to go to quarters. It took I think we won quarters 4-2, and then all 6. I think we needed 6 to win in semis. But now we've got Tardy Tortoises for the finals. Logi's been playing his mind out all season, kind of holding us together, and it's his, I think this is his 3rd trip to the finals. It is my first. I've been in this league since season 4, which was in 2018. So we're now 6 years past that. This is my first final as a player. So I'm very excited to finally get to do that and see how it shakes out. And yeah, I've got no clue. I feel like I blacked out through our playoff run, and now we're here, and it's time to get it done on Monday night. So yeah, I'm bummed that I won't be able to be in the booth for it, but I'm excited to be on the field.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
It looks like you guys have had 9 different players play this season.
Yeah,
I could just do the roster input in RSC, but who are you expecting to see the field for, or at least start to see the field for the Brashtons?
Most likely it'll be me, Logi, and Rico. That's kind of been our starting 3 primarily. Modaz has been a fantastic 4th. He was a clutch 4th in that semifinal because Modaz came in, we dropped a game or 2. Modaz came in, helped us win 1, and then we lost the next one. Rico came back in off of the bench and helped us clutch it out. So we've kind of had that rotation going that has been really, really nice. But yeah, the roster turnover for the team, I wasn't on this team at the beginning of the season. I didn't get drafted to this team. I was picked up, I think, match day 4 or 5. And we added Modaz in after I was brought in. So there's been some turnover. Pop FGF perm FA sub for us one night and dropped this massive game and got us a 4-0 from subbing. I was like, well, we should cut me and sign him. But it's it just all has kind of come together, and now we're playing our best games when it has come down to it. We knocked T-San off, which was pretty nice.
Hey, let's go.
Now we get to play on stream on Monday. So I'm excited to be on the other side of the wall, so to speak, for one.
All right, Rob, I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm not gonna ask HUD because there's no way HUD can give me an unbiased answer here for this question. Who do you have winning the rival finals, and why?
It was, what was the name of the other team? I apologize.
Tardy
Tortoises. I'm doing some looking.
He wants to give an informed answer.
Yeah, I'm not. So it looks to me, just from straight up, you know how I love my numbers. You know I love my stats.
Stats exist
It
for a
looks to
reason.
me like Tardy Tortoises have the edge right away. Whoever Hig SN or Higson is, with that 84 RPV on MVP ballot for Lunar, 31-19 record, 40 goals, 40 assists. More than 40 in both, but like that 40-40 club is crazy. It gets hard to do that. I think there were only a couple players in Lucas is insulted, unlucky. But we got Higgs in there, then Yoshi, right, 30-16 right there, 40 goals, 30 assists. That's a really well-rounded offense with an 85 RPV and then a 65 RPV. Then Ice Phoenix, assuming that's their 3rd, another 31-26 record, 40 goals, 27 assists. So we have a really, really well-rounded attack, a pretty solidified starting 3, all putting up really solid numbers. That said, I will never put anything past, especially in Rival. That tier is crazy, because that's when people start getting. If you put a Rival player's best clips next to a master player's best clips, most of the time they will look pretty similar. And so someone like Logi, who has the upside, right, is I've both been on a team, or I've been on a franchise with and against Logi, and I've seen him perform at various levels. And if Logi's on, like you're saying, that can be enough to carry an entire team through, right? But also, it seems the same can be said about Higgs, or the same can be said about Yoshi. And I don't know enough about the teams to make any much more of a prediction. But it seems to me that at first glance, the more well-rounded offensive team that can beat you from all three spots, that probably has that chem, is looking like the Tardy Tortoises. What a funny name to say that about. Like,
Yeah,
all that
the slow team. They're the
analysis.
one I think is going to win. The slow ones.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I'll give my prediction here, and I'm going to be consistent with how I've been predicting finalists this season, because it's actually got me right a few times. It got me right with Toucans, and it got me right with God, there's another one I know. But
So you're 2 for 7. Is that what you're saying? You're 2 for 7, and you're going to keep doing the same thing.
look, listen here, bud. Being right 2 for 7 when we were taking shots in the dark on 32 tier teams when they haven't played
fair.
anything.
We were guessing out of like 18 for a couple of them. So
I'll take it. But no, Rob's right. Like, when you look at the raw stats between these two teams, they're extremely close. They're extremely similar. I mean, we're talking Tardy Tortoises, 148 goals for, Brashton's 144. It's a 4-goal difference on a 64 game season, which is, quite frankly, negligible. Like, for a lot of teams, that's
a tie
nothing.
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, goals against is where I've really been looking at this offseason for teams in the regular season. And it's really predicted some really good teams. Like, we've seen House Salads make the distance. If they wouldn't have had horrible luck in the playoffs, they probably would have taken the chip. Toucans took their chip, and they were both the lowest for their tier. Relatively speaking, between the two, that is the only thing, in my opinion, that's really separating you guys, because you guys are only a 6 save difference. But goals against, Tardy Tortoises are 131. You guys 121 for Tardy Tortoises. You guys are 139. So it's an 18.
Yeah, sounds about right.
18 goals against difference, which is, once again, still not that big of a difference. Like, it's still pretty close, keeps you guys in the ballpark.
No, it's an edge though.
I wish we had the RSD app.
Yeah, they've got a little check next to them on that, in that category.
For that reason alone, because that's how I predicted the Toucans and the House Salads being as good as they were in the playoffs, I'm going to have to personally go ahead and say Tardy Tortoises, but it's probably going to be an incredibly close series. We're probably either going to see it go 6 or 7 games, and we're probably going to see it go Game 7, maybe winning 2-1 in favor of Tardy Tortoises. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout. I don't think anybody's going to take a runaway victory, but I think that's going to be the biggest deciding factor.
Yeah, I would agree with all points brought up. I think the regular season stats and the postseason stats probably would look a lot different for our team. I feel like we've played a lot better since the postseason started. So, that's all we really can do is let the product on the field represent as best as we can. But it will absolutely go. It's going to be a long one. I don't know how to not play in series that aren't longer than they should be. I think in our semifinal, I scored a total of 3 own goals that probably added another game onto that one. If I had scored maybe one less, it would have been a 6-game series instead of a 7-1. So, anything can happen. There's a match after us that
Hut's playing Mafia in the finals.
Yeah.
There's a match after us that I would like to make start as late as possible after the rival final is over. It's gonna be a good one.
Fair. Well, I think, fellas, it's time to roll on to our last tier of the night. We're gonna talk about the vet finals.
Really quick. This is not about rival, but I forgot to say this when we were talking about Master. It was really interesting. We just brought up the seeds. Seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4 all lost to seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 in Master. And I forgot to mention that when we were talking about it, but that really threw a lot of teams' expectations for the loop, because, oh my goodness, we're prepping against playing the 1 seed, we're prepping against playing the 2 seed the next round. Literally every underdog won. And so it led to some really interesting and creative matchups and situations that we wouldn't expect, and I wanted to include that on our wrap-up of the tier. Anyway, take us away, boss, to vet.
You're good, man. Well, that will bring us, people, into the last tier here. Let me go ahead and get this pulled up here so somebody else can see it. because it's been an interesting playoffs to say the least out of Vet. Let's get this moved over. I don't need people seeing the stream. Boom, transition.
Wow, nailed it.
But it's going to be the number 1 seed on the solar side versus the number 6 Blues coming out of the lunar side. And I'm not going to lie, man. Looking at the stats for this, I'm kind of concerned that this could be a problem.
A problem?
So
expand upon a problem.
So it's ungodly unbalanced when you look at like raw stats. So Blues have 29 less saves. It's pretty small down here. 29 less saves than Singularity. They have 31 goals less. So whale defense makes me a little bit nervous going in here. But they did just 4-0, I want to say, the Calzones. Yeah, they just 4-0'd the Calzones. They 3-0'd the Makos.
They haven't lost in playoffs yet,
They've
boss.
not lost a game in playoffs. I don't know how you can vote against them. They've literally not lost in postseason.
I'm not gonna lie.
Crazy.
I'm struggling when I look at these
Rocky,
like regular season stats.
Let's find some postseason stats here because they've got to look different.
It's just Rocky. I'm calling it right now. Someone's gonna play with Roxy's camera settings in finals. That's how they've been doing it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But that is a huge shouts to them. That is a crazy playoff run that they're
Especially
on right
as the
now.
6 seed. Like they had to beat
Yeah.
the 3 seed and the 1 seed and they beat them both in 3 games.
10-0 in playoffs against only teams that are higher seeded than them.
That's crazy.
And now they're going up against one of the best vet teams of all time.
It either is going to be a massive, like, you know, you're going to get the immovable force versus the unstoppable force versus the immovable object kind of series, or Singularity is just going to blow them out of the water.
That's my fear, dude.
Nylon is telling us to look at the last matchup against Singularity, so I'm gonna pull up the schedule right now.
I've got it right here.
Oh, well,
Vet
I've got it
SNR.
right here. So,
I'm going to race you to it.
oh, you have me beat because I'm not gonna try anymore. So,
Last time Singularity played
the blue.
the Blues was the first time they played match day 9, it was a 4-0 sweep for the Blues.
Oh my goodness.
And then the most recent time that they played. Oh, that was the most recent time they played. Yeah,
I
it's
wonder if
4-0.
there was. I wonder if there was like a player that.
wasn't there. If there was if it was an incomplete lineup. I
Yeah.
don't know. 4-0. That makes me nervous for Singularity. Nervous.
I don't know, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's cool to get hot and all, but it's a lot harder to carry that momentum when it's not the same day matches. Like if it were
week 2.
exactly like week 1, they got hot against the 3 seed and they carried that momentum into the 1 seed and went nuts, and that's
Right
awesome.
after. Yeah.
Exactly. But then you come out and then you have to play the 4 seed. Not just, right? Huge ups to the Calzones for even making it to semis. However, they don't feel as intimidating as if you're playing, let's say, the 1 seed, like Singularity, who's 49-14, right? And so it's easy to carry that momentum when it's back-to-back like that and when people are more nervous. But when you've had a week to prep for the game and you know who you're playing and you've taken out a lot of these variables, like obviously people will still be nervous and whatnot, but having this break between the matches, I think it only helps Singularity because, like you were saying, boss, if you look at the numbers, they're supposed to win. They're supposed to be better. They're just better in almost every stat, right? And shout out Skep, by the way, on Singularity for threatening my vet MVP record for like the entire season until the final match day. Roxy got really close last season too, but Skep was on pace actually until the final 2 match days. So really, really, really impressive season from him and this whole Singularity team. But I have such a hard time. Even if the Blues are 10-0, right? It's not like that's 10-0 momentum coming into today. Like
Rob, then give me your prediction, my man. Tell me who you
I'm
got
gonna go
winning.
Singularity.
gone
I'm gonna
back
go
on this.
Singularity 4-2.
Okay.
I don't even think it goes 7. I think that the Blues do
Ooh.
everything that they can. I think that they keep it close for a lot of these games. But numbers don't lie, man. And barring something kind of catastrophic, this Singularity team should be running with it.
All right, Hud. Let's see you cook.
I said out loud, how can you vote against the team that has gone 10
You know, in
10-0
playoffs.
in the final or in the playoffs, in the postseason?
I'll do it
I
real
was
easy.
trying-
4-1 in favor of Singularity.
Hey, that's your prerogative to make it easy for yourself. I was looking for this is why I'm looking in Yoza's replays. I'm not looking in the RSC replays. Whoops. Yeah, I was looking for seeing if I could find like some of the stats from those the 10 games that they've won in playoffs so far to really shore up my like wanting to back them up in their magnificent playoff run. But I don't need any shoring up. I'll go 4-2 for the Blues. I think, just as much as there's been an opportunity for the Singularity to have a little bit more time to prep for this, the Blues, we know that they can do it when they get hot. They had to win another series. You said it's only against the 4 seed, but they know they did it. They swept it. They didn't just win it. They swept it. And now they've got a chance to drop a couple of games to the Singularity. I think... well, my determining thing when it happens, like if we're voting on it when it's occurring, if Singularity wins a game and then the Blues don't immediately win the next game, I think the series over. Like if it's 2 back-to-back wins for Singularity, I don't know if Blues will be able to come back from it.
I mean,
But
there's a
outside of that,
15. Oh, sorry.
my vote's 4-2 for the Blues.
Wow, 4-2 for the Blues. Are you okay over there, man? Are you feeling well? Okay, just making sure.
I feel great.
Making sure you're looking at the same numbers that we are, man.
I was just making sure we're both looking at the same
of them
team
is
that's currently 189.
wins.
They've
Hold
won
on.
10 games
wins.
straight in playoffs. 10
They
games
won
doesn't
10
happen on
games
accident.
straight. If they won 15 games straight in regular season, they'd be tied. Like
Regular
that's the
season doesn't
gap.
matter once you make it to the playoffs. It's all about winning the games in the playoffs.
That's true,
Playoffs.
but I mean, what tells you about them? We got
Playoffs.
the number 1 RPV in vet at 95 on Singularity. We got another MVP candidate in J-Dubs with an 82 RPV, so 95 and 82, and then a 65 as well. And then their fourth, or whoever their fourth is they're at least in RPV, is. Well, where did he go? I just had it up. Grizz has not played as much, but JNOP only had a 43 RPV, but is 32 and 7. So clearly knows how to let his teammates cook. This team just operates on. They have 2 crazy productive players, and at a 95 and 82 RPV. You look at the Blues, and the Blues are led by a 65, a 63, a 56. Like, they don't have I'm not saying they can't win, but numerically, like, I'm giving them credit by calling it a 4-2 right now, based on what the numbers say. Like, this looks like a very, very, very uneven match, and I hope this fuels them. And they totally could come out with it, but, like, this is, in my opinion, far and away the most lopsided matchup that we've talked about on stream.
I feel like any matchup against Singularity is going to be lopsided. They've had that kind of season, so
Yeah, that's fair.
it's got to come down to, and I don't know what Singularity's playoff run has looked like, but it's got to be a confident Blues team. Like, it's got to be a team that's feeling good. Yeah. So, hopefully it's going to be a good series because it's the last series of the season. So hopefully it'll be a good one and not a stinker.
Boss, what are you calling?
I already called 4-1. Favor of Singularity.
4-1? I missed that.
No, you're good. You're good. I clowned on HUD when he tried to say he favor of Blues.
He jumped on mine because he just wanted to dunk on me. So
yes,
that's
sir.
fine. Whatever.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
About who's right or who's wrong.
We'll see you back next week. Well, fellas, anything else you guys want to talk about before we kind of wrap things up here for the night?
Cool. I know that there's a lot of like event stuff spinning up. We literally just got pinged from Bladed while we were doing this about he's looking for casters for a 1v1 show match. So make sure you watch out for those things because more stuff on streams are always good. And vote for your All-Stars because every season we have people complain that nobody votes for All-Stars and it's just a popularity contest and there's like 30 people that vote. So if you want your tiers to have representative All-Stars, vote. And don't complain about it later.
True. Well, fellas, for this week's docket, we've only got we've got our rival and veteran finals tomorrow. We've got our 1v1 for Prem, should be North versus Kylao. It's going to be either the 4th or 5th. We're not quite sure on the exact date yet. And then on
That's
the
going to be crazy.
10 p.m.
And then on the 7th, that is going to be our season wrap-up show. So you will not see another podcast episode this week or this season in general. You'll see our season awards show. So tune in then. We'll go ahead and pass out on the information, who wins the awards, who's going to be new admins, new GMs, and we'll see you there. It'll be fun.